How was the idea for Marketplace.city born?
But actually it came from city leaders and city innovators. So CIOs, chief technologists, smart city leads were really frustrated with the lack of clear information about what their peers were using and how it was performing and what was really evolving in the market. And so they wanted the value of e-commerce, but for their job in the public sector. And that's really the origin of how it came. It came from city leaders talking about this big need and sort of demanding it.
When was Marketplace.nyc established and by whom?
Yeah, so Marketplace.nyc was the beta of the product. It was really led out of the Mayor's Office of Innovation and Technology in New York City. Jeff Merritt, leader there at the time, partnered with our head of product, Cameron Kozan, and his company at the time, Fictive Kin, to do the beta, to show other cities with partnership and a lot of eyes from their other peer cities, whether it be Barcelona and London and Dublin, to see, is this possible to create this two-sided marketplace of government technologies? And then it was debuted at the 2016 White House Smart Cities Week.
When did you know what was working in NYC and how it might be able to expand to other cities?
Yeah, the reaction to it was pretty strong from the city point of view, right? Everyone wanted this data. They wanted, at the time, their own versions of it created, and we knew that, one, there was a demand and a hunger for this level of data, and two, that it had to actually be a multi-city platform where the folks were be able to share information, share the data, to not make it repeating for the vendors, and that they're actually sharing the data and filling out a set of information once to be shared across the community to make it more repeatable.
Awesome. For this one, we might want to have you, say the question back.
Sure.
So we don't necessarily have to pop it up on the screen.
That's fine.
When did the company become Marketplace.city?
We launched Marketplace.city off the back of the Marketplace.nyc beta in the fall of 2017. We actually used the Barcelona Smart Cities Expo as the launching off point with 4 launch cities: New York City, Atlanta, Barcelona, and Dublin, to show the sort of global nature and the need in this emerging technology space to capture all of this data, and actually were rewarded with the Innovative Product Award at the show 2 days after our launch.
Nice. That's a good way to kick it off.
It was.
And start off.
It was.
What unique skills or background do the principals of your company bring?
Yeah, so that, we thought that the three of us who founded it brought together, 3 aspects of the problem. Chris had worked a lot selling into government and really understood the pain point as a leader of a SaaS technology company, the pain points of selling into the government at all levels, federal, state, and local. I had worked as an innovation accelerator with trying to bridge the smart city gap and work to do more pilots across cities and with government, and felt the pain points of the slowness of getting those going and the structure of, well, how are we going to buy this? How's that procurement aspect? And Cameron brings the background of 15 plus years of digital product design and with working with brand new startups and incubating them to some of the Fortune 100 designing their digital platforms.
That's awesome. How has the company grown over the last few years?
Yeah, so the company started, we knew at the end we wanted to have a full sort of sourcing to procurement platform, and started with the sourcing, being able to sort of make the matches, right? Help cities who had a need find innovative companies that were doing it, and started out with being able to make those matches. And what we've been able to do, growing off of how Marketplace.city was born, which was partnering with cities, have found various cities along the way to help co-develop and co-solution what's needed to actually have an end-to-end procurement process, what data is really needed at every step of the way. And so we've really focused our growth on where we can take this data that we're aggregating and inject it into the city's process.
Awesome. What were some of the early successes of the company, or another kind of add-on question is, what was you consider your first success?
Yeah, I think the early successes where we saw right away, with the early signups from the 4 cities at the launch to a month later having 25 cities being enabled and requesting data and doing searches on the platform. And the same side on the vendor side, right? That global startups and tech companies were signing up, were populating their data, and were excited with the possibility of getting exposure and simplifying what is a very fragmented and complicated market. I think the biggest early successes were when we saw those matches fruitfully go to productive relationships, first pilots and ultimately procurements. But we as a company were frustrated still at the pace of that and the numbers, right? You can make 100 successful matches and they would fall apart at the procurement stage. And so I really think when we launched the first pilot ClearBox process with the city of Aurora and were able to get that first procurement over the line, it really proved that something was possible for this just massive category and just a way to be more efficient and to do it better.
Awesome. What makes the company unique?
I think the uniqueness is that we're not going to governments and telling them you have to do it our way. What we're trying to do is take the rules and the goals of public procurement, of transparency and fairness, and recognize that there is a process and a way of doing it, and inject the data and the questions that they're all answering. It doesn't matter what state you're in and what locality you're in. The rules and the need are all different flavors of the same thing. The questions you're going to get asked from your city manager or your city council are all the same. And so how can we answer that in a repeated structure, over and over again, and just make their lives easier?
Yeah. Well, that is all the company and history background. That was awesome.
Perfect.
So we'll move on to the ClearBox.
Yep, perfect.
So what is ClearBox?
Yeah, so a ClearBox is, it's the opposite of a black box. The goal is, we hear time and time again, both from cities that are trying to get things done, that the procurement process is a black box, and definitely from people selling in, that it's a black box. They submit information, I like to describe it as sort of throwing it over the wall, and then eventually a decision comes out, and they're not really sure, what's happened. And we know, there's a better way where, transparency is really the goal, that we can bring all the stakeholders together, show them all the same pieces of data as they move through. Everyone gets very comfortable that they're getting the right solution at the right price, and it's then de-risked.
What are some of the biggest pain points that governments are trying to resolve that use ClearBox?
I think there's a couple of key ones. The first one is starting with a blank page. You have a problem, whether it be we need a new Freedom of Information Act software, or we need police body cameras, but you don't know where to start looking. And so the fact that our market landscapes lay out the full coverage of not only what solutions are on the market, where their case studies are, pricing, and often procurement vehicles. That's the first one. And the second one is really, what is the most efficient pathway forward? Because there's typically procurement processes tend to try to fit all projects into the same one or two paths, and it doesn't necessarily work for evolving technology where there aren't fixed requirements. And so by providing all of the options up front, it allows people to get very comfortable with what are some ideas that are a good fit for me versus just knowing one company that's out there. And then it gives them, a clear path forward through what is, often a tangled web of lines. It gives you a highlighted path forward to the finish line.
What does the process, or why does the process work so well for technology?
Technology is a good fit for this process, and it's designed for a vertical or like technology, because public procurement is really designed for two things: commodities and construction. There's a lot of detailed structures and processes for those two things, which are either have a fixed set of requirements. Road salt is always one way. Tables need to be a certain height and a certain width. And construction, which is very location based. Technology is a space that is ever evolving. And if you take the time to write out and design every requirement you think you need to fill that need, by the time you get that system in, not only have your needs changed, but the technologies doing it have changed as well. And so this process is really built with that aspect in mind, and works in other spaces as well, where there's evolving needs from the government or the buyer.
Great. What data is collected as part of the ClearBox, and how is it relevant to the decision-making process?
So the ClearBox is designed to capture the same key data points in each process, right? So what solutions are on the market, what case studies and validations, as we call them, have providers done in other cities, peer cities, and other governments, what the pricing and past contracts do they have, and which procurement vehicles option. Those are the main pieces, and then for each specific city, we're able to source from past procurements done on Marketplace or off, what were the key decision criteria that helped those cities make a choice? What were the key things that they were looking for, whether they be us integrating to a specific other product or a specific business model or pricing model, and that those become the key data points that are captured at for each Clearbox process.
You engage a large number of vendors during the process. What is the value for them to submit their information to the Clearbox process?
The goal of the Clearbox process, while the governments are our priority and our customer of who we're trying to serve, the goal of a marketplace needs to have value to both sides. And so the hard part about vendors in this space right now is they are constantly going point to point to all of these different 90,000 buying entities in the United States alone at the state and local level. And if we go globally, it's a lot more, and I don't have a good count on it. And so what it allows them to do is put their core sets of data, doesn't change that often. What does your product do? What are your best case studies? What outcomes can you deliver? What use case? Even a lot of their pricing models, while they change over the course of months or years, they're static for a portion of time. You can share that information in one location and then have it a one-to-many relationship where it's reaching multiple buyers. It's a huge value in your sales and marketing process.
For sure. All right, last question, and one that's definitely top of mind for a lot of people is what happens to the data after the Clearbox process is completed?
So that's the piece that I think is most exciting, about this, right? Is the government process acknowledges that everyone is doing the same thing over and over, and have mechanisms, whether they be piggybacking contracts and intergovernment contracts or cooperatives, to scale and to bring to multiple people. And so we take the Clearbox output and put it into a simplified 2-page summary case study that covers not only what was the use case, what was the pain point, what was the use case, how was it solved, but also what was all the information that was gathered and all the decision points as it relates to procurement. How many people were evaluated? What vendor demos were happening? What's the contract and pricing structure? What were the value of, what were the reasons that people made this choice that allows that to be used by your neighbor in the town next door or all the way across the country? And that's all hosted and shared, on Marketplace, available to government users to really streamline and save the next city and the participating vendors a lot of time.
Great. That is pretty exciting.
Cool.
I think that's awesome. Just got 2 more.
Yeah.
Kind of at the end, general about.
Yep. Perfect.
Expand however much you want. Ethan, I saw the lights in this office just go off. Is that affecting anything for you?
It's ours, so we can turn it back on if we need to.
Let me double check.
And if there's other questions you think that are coming up that someone would ask, we can
I
do it.
I think.
I know you guys are new to this process, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
It's fine. I didn't really see
You good?
much.
We're back.
Now it's back on.
Okay. Just wanted to double check, but.
They're motion-based, so.
All right. Where's the company headed strategically, or what is your long-term vision for the company?
Yeah, our goal is just to continue to work closely with our partner cities to start with the digital product and the data we have, and make it easier and easier for them to consume it, to take more resource savings and more time and more costs out of their process. That's what we're focused on, all of our product development, all of our process development, and as we add more cities, the richness of the data gets better every day.
Oh, absolutely. Just keep expanding. Talk about your company's focus on technology procurement and why that's fertile ground for the Marketplace.city business model.
Yeah, so we're focused on technology procurement because we recognize that that's a space of huge need in the market, in state and local government market, for 2 key reasons. One, the procurement structures aren't designed to fit technology procurement, and 2, more and more things are becoming tech-enabled. When we talk about the $110 billion of state and local spend, a lot of that is actually right now captured within IT budgets or big projects that can be classified as technology. But what we're finding is all these spend in public works and fire and police and health departments are tech-enabled services and tech-enabled products that traditionally, buying a fire truck was about how big it was and how many hose attachments it had and what color it was. And now we're talking about how connected is the vehicle, and can its vehicle locator talk to the street lights, and can it talk to the traffic signals, and and all of those things built right into the hardware. And as more and more of that happens and those components are changing every day, the need becomes greater and greater to deliver that data to an expertise to city buyers who can't maintain that level, especially as we're talking down to medium and small size municipalities and counties.